Have you ever had a dream that felt more real than waking life? A dream where a single image stayed with you, a staircase, a door, a river, a burning light. And even though no one explained it to you, somehow you felt like it meant something. That feeling is not random because the deeper layers of consciousness does not communicate the way that logical mind does. So the soul does not speak in paragraphs, the soul speaks in images. And in today's lesson, we're going to explore why imagery has always been the language of awakening and why so many spiritual traditions used symbols, visions, and sacred imagery to communicate truths that words alone cannot express. So think about how children learn. Before they ever learn to read, they recognize pictures. A drawing of the sun means warmth. A picture of the heart means love. A dark cloud means that something is wrong. Images communicate instantly, no translation required. The mind doesn't need to analyze them first, it feels them immediately. And this is because imagery speaks directly to the deeper levels of awareness. You see, the part of you that existed long before language, and that deeper part of you is what many traditions call the soul. You see, the soul thinks symbolically, and most of our everyday thinking is logical. We use language, definitions, and explanations to understand the world, but the deeper mind operates differently. It understands through symbols and imagery. You see, this is why dreams appear as scenes instead of conversations. Instead of hearing a lecture, you see a mountain to climb. Instead of being told about change, you see a snake shedding its skin. Instead of hearing about rebirth, you see a sunrise after darkness. These images carry meaning because the subconscious and naturally, or the subconsciously, the mind naturally understands some symbolism. So, in fact, the entire field of psychology recognizes this. Carl Jung once described symbols as the natural language of the unconscious mind. You see, in other words, the deeper self does not think in sentences. It thinks in images that represent transformation. So, throughout history, spiritual teachings were rarely delivered through simple explanations. Instead, they appeared through parables, myths, sacred symbols, visionary imagery. But why? It was mainly because imagery does something that plain information cannot. It activates inner realization. So when someone hears a logical explanation, they understand it intellectually. But when someone sees a powerful image, something deeper begins to awaken. You see, for example, a story about a seed growing into a tree instantly communicates growth, or the image of a phoenix rising from the ashes instantly communicates rebirth. And an image of a journey through the wilderness instantly communicates there's a transformation. You see, these images bypass the analytical mind and go directly into the inner imagination. And the imagination is not just fantasy, it is one of the primary ways that the soul reveals deeper truths. So, have you ever noticed that certain images stay with you for years? A scene from a movie, a painting, a dream, or a symbol that you saw once that you just never forgot? You see, images have this power because they activate multiple layers of consciousness at once. The logical mind sees the picture, the emotional mind feels something, and the subconscious begins searching for meaning all at the same time. And this is why sacred imagery has always played a role in spiritual traditions. You see, temples were filled with symbols, cathedrals were filled with stained glass imagery, and ancient manuscripts were filled with symbolic illustrations. These images were not decoration, they were tools for awakening awareness. And they were meant to awaken something inside the observer, something that could not be awakened by explanation alone. Once you understand that the soul communicates through imagery, you can begin noticing how images appear in your own life. So pay attention to your dreams, symbols that attract you, images that repeatedly appear in your life, or stories or myths that resonate deeply. And instead of asking, what does this mean logically, try asking a different question. What might this image be reflecting within me? Because sometimes the soul reveals its guidance through pictures long before the mind fully understands them. And this is why artists, mystics, and visionaries often describe receiving insight through imagery and vision. Because imagery is one of the ways the deeper self communicates with the conscious mind. So the more you learn to observe these images, the more you begin to understand the language of the soul. So over the next few days, I invite you to do something simple. Start paying attention to the images that appear in your life, the symbols you are drawn toward, the dreams you remember, the imagery that stirs something within you. Because these images may not just be random impressions, they may be reflections of your own inner awakening. In this series, The Symbols of Awakening, we will continue exploring the deeper meaning behind the images and symbols that have guided spiritual seekers throughout history. And as we do, you may begin realizing something profound. The language of the soul has always been around you, in nature, in dreams, in sacred symbols. You simply needed to learn how to see it. If this lesson resonated with you, be sure to subscribe and continue the journey with us. Because once you begin understanding the language of symbols, you begin understanding the language of your own awakening. And I will see you guys in the next video.